Netflix has done it again and delivered us a live-action adaptation of a beloved franchise. But how did this one do? Well, let's get into it. Hello there, Clapperheads, and welcome to a brand new edition of ClapperCorns. I'm Nick Dorian. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Netflix's new series, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, the original Avatar series, which premiered mid-2000s, is highly regarded as one of the greatest animated series of all time. With its great story, Asian representation, as well as touching on themes like war and genocide, this wasn't an everyday animated series. They had some real topics behind this and some great characters and storylines. And after spawning comic books, video games, an animated sequel, as well as a subpar live-action film, let's not get into that one, shall we? Netflix has now decided to adapt it into a live-action series. Now, when Netflix first announced the development of the series, it was of course met with mixed reactions. Was it going to stay faithful to the series? Was it going to be as terrible as the live action? Are they going to do something different? So many questions were out there in the air that were waiting to get answered. But after the success of the One Piece live action series, people's expectations were slowly getting higher. Unfortunately, perhaps they should have dumbed it down a little bit. Now, I have to preface this with the fact that I have never actually watched the original animated series. I know, shock horror. So this review is going to come from a very first-timer's perspective. This is my introduction to Avatar: The Last Airbender. And after watching this, I kind of want to watch the original source material instead. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad series per se, but it's a valiant attempt. Now, with the live-action film, the one thing they got wrong was the fact that they were trying to do it too real, too mature. This was still an animated series aimed at kids. You can't delve into adult territory with a film like that. Visually, Netflix got it right because it looks like the animated series. It's got the budget, it's got the visuals, it's got the fun and vibrancy to it. It's everything that I think the animated series worked so well on. You could tell Netflix was throwing all their budget into this to make it look as visually appeasing as possible and literally see those animated characters brought to life. However, I think the downfall of all that is that the series eventually falls into the category of all flash, no substance. Now, what I mean by that is I feel like the story is very much rushed. It moves at a breakneck speed, and I think they're trying to catch up everything in the first season of the animated series into the first season of this show, and they can't do that. I'm sure, like me, there are going to be a whole bunch of newcomers coming to this series and they want to experience it and understand these characters. Netflix has not allowed us to do that. It moves from one moment to the other at a massive pace, and you barely have time to breathe because everything is moving so fast. And not only that, there is a massive amount of exposition. Instead of letting us understand and figure out our own thoughts on it, they explain everything almost as if that we were a child. Now, perhaps this happened mainly because it might have been made for children as well as teenagers to get into the series. But Netflix has also forgot there is a massive following of people around my age who were brought into this series and loves it so much that when you adapt it, you've got to find that balance. You can't consistently explain everything to us. You've got to let us have a little bit of moments where we use our own brains and figure things along ourselves. Characters form bonds and relationships incredibly quick. We understand their emotions because they are literally telling us their emotions. There was even a point where the lead character genuinely goes, "I am sad. I know I am sad. Why am I sad? We know you're sad. You don't need to explain that to us." Another unfortunate fault in this series is the balance of the CGI effects. Now, what I mean by balance is the fact that sometimes you could have great sequences, and then there are other times where you feel like the CGI had been rushed, much like the series. And when that happens, it kind of takes you out of it for a moment because you're looking more at the CGI moments rather than what's actually happening within the story. Which is kind of unfortunate because there are some moments that are visually stunning to look at, especially the fight sequences. When you combine the fight choreography as well as the airbending CGI, it looks brilliant, but I wish that was consistent enough. Having pointed out those two downsides though, I genuinely think this is a fun series. For those of you who haven't seen the original series, this is a good first start for you because it gets you into the groove of things and perhaps makes you want to know more about the history and will make you watch the original animated series. Was that the idea of the filmmakers? Perhaps not, but it brings more attention to the source material. Now, of course, I can't say whether this is a faithful adaptation or not, but from online reviews as well as some of my friends, they say it's almost faithful to it, but they could have liked to seen a bit more backstory and more depth. This is very on the surface at the moment. If they delve deeper, Netflix could be onto something. Granted, this is the first season, so they're going to want to attract as many people as possible and fit as much story into it. So my only hope is that in future seasons, they slow it down a little bit and get into some deeper territories in terms of storylines and themes. At the end of the day, Avatar: The Last Airbender is still worth your time. I still recommend you check it out because you will be entertained by this, and there's still enough story and engagement to keep you going throughout those 8 episodes. So do yourself a favor, go and catch Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's now streaming on Netflix, all 8 episodes, and let me know your comments down below. I may not like it, you may like it. Let me know. And as always, you can check us out on all social media platforms. It's all on the screen at the moment: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. Please go and subscribe and like and follow all those pages for more updates. Thank you so much again for watching. I am Nick Dorian, and until next time, keep watching the movies.